Hey, everybody, start your Saturday with a little betting on March Madness down with our pals at Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on all things March Madness. They've got the largest selection of odds on everything in the tournament. Do a $200,000 bracket contest that you may have missed out on already. But next time you won't, because you heard me tell you a bunch of times now. And so next time you'll be like, "Ooh, Dan told me I should really get in on this a little bit earlier," and allow Bet Online to continue to be my number one sports betting source. But look, even now, if you've got a Cinderella story that's ready to run all the way to the end of the tournament, Bet Online has you covered with odds, stats, and more on every game, every play, and every win. Get over there now. Get a little coin going. Bet Online. The game starts here. Welcome to Snack Size DFS. I'm Dan Vespers, just here to introduce the program and my good friend Brenton Eckersley as he brings you this Saturday DFS breakdown in snack size format. That is, we try to keep these things to 25 minutes or less, so you're not spending your entire day getting ready for a DFS card, but instead just a small chunk, a snack size, as it were. Please hit that subscribe button as you're settling in. Hit the like button as well. Comments are open for Brenton throughout the day, or you can hit him up on social media at Terrain72. Without further ado, Snack Size DFS.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of Snack Size DFS. Let's get me up a little larger here now that I'm talking. Hey, how you doing? It is Snack Size DFS for the DraftKings Saturday, March the 22nd slate. Thanks as always, Dan Vespers. Proud to be part of the Old Man Sports Network here. Feeling pretty old today. It was pretty funny. I got all my research done. I thought I'm going to go for a walk. I like to walk. I'm a bit of a walker. There shouldn't be too much more news. And as soon as I hit the footpath, that's sidewalk for you guys out in America. We call it footpath. As soon as I got out there, my notifications just went crazy. Yahoo notifications, ESPN notifications, Basketball Monster notifications. So I continued walking, but I walked a lot quicker. Like I was really bloody keen to get back and see what was happening. Lots of moving parts today in this one, which is fine. It's only a short card. There's only 5 games on this 22nd of March NBA docket, but DraftKings have broken that down into 1 and 4, and I don't mess around with those single games with captains and such. We just do the main slate. So let's jump in here. We're going to jump into that view there, and we'll roll into the first games, shall we? As I said, Saturday, March 22nd, couple of game pace notes for you where there's really only one. I expect the Golden State Warriors game versus Atlanta to be fairly quick. We don't really have many game totals or any game totals at the moment. Most of these other games, they're pretty much going to be between slow teams taking on fast teams. And you can see that over on the right-hand side in pace bumps. There's a few going on there. So in the end, we get that faster Golden State versus Atlanta game, I would expect. And then most of the other games are just going to hover in the mid-20s, so nothing to really report there. Let's move into pace bumps because we were just talking about that. We do expect the Warriors to have a nice juicy pace bump versus the Hawks. New York all the way down the bottom of the pace ladder, taking on the Washington Wizards all the way up to the top. And we also have the Lakers taking on Chicago, which will be a very similar kind of pace bump for the Lakers. Attack and stack. We like to target Atlanta. So again, Warriors pop up there as a team that you can target. New York taking on Washington. Who knows how that game is going to go? Washington all over the place. Causing me more headaches than Brooklyn right now. It's a tough team to work out, and who knows where this game may end up. 40-point blowout, 2-point win. Who knows? The Lakers taking on Chicago is also an attack and stack spot. Let's move into the first of 4 games here. As I said, the Golden State Warriors taking on the Atlanta Hawks. I do expect this one to be the faster game of the day. It's not going to be a crazy 245 game total or anything like that, but it probably will end up being the fast one. At the time of recording, we know that Steph Curry's been ruled out with that back injury. They're just calling it a contusion, but I would expect him out for 2 to 3 games probably. And Gary Payton III II. Gary Payton II is showing up as questionable. With Curry out, I really like Brandon Podziemski here. It's a fairly obvious eat the chalk kind of play, but the pricing without Curry for Podziemski here at 6K is just too cheap. He's going to get a usage bump. He's going to get more ball handling responsibilities, and we know he's capable of 40 plus DK points, especially with Curry not there putting up 18 to 20 shots. Those shots have to go elsewhere, and a few of them will go to Jimmy Butler. 8,500. Look, it's a roundabout value for Jimmy. He is capable of 50 plus as he's showing now. Started really slowly with the Warriors, to be honest, but that price has bumped up to 85. It doesn't make me overly keen to jump on at that price at 8,500, even with Steph out. He's not going to burn you at this price. I just feel like there's not a whole lot of meat on the bone left here for Jimmy. The minutes won't go up. That's one thing. He is already playing into the 35, 36 minutes, which is probably the reach for Jimmy Butler, given his age. The usage can definitely go up. He's had some good games in the last three. He did have 59, which would exceed this value quite easily. Obviously, just keep in mind that was versus Toronto. However, we are facing the Hawks here. Who gets the Dyson Daniels matchup? To be confirmed. It could be either of those guys, to be honest. At the bottom end of the scale, we've got Quinton Post at 3,400. Can get the start with players out. Has got the start with Curry out before. It's really going to depend on what is lurking in the mind of Steve Kerr while he's crunching on his Fruit Loops in the morning. It's just too hard to work out who he's going to start, who are going to get the minutes. So that's why these guys end up being pinata plays for me. Quinton Post at 3,400, 23 and 22 minutes in his last two, and obviously points per minute, pretty good with Quinton Post, 26 and 27 DK points. If we get the news early, and we should, and he starts, then he is a great play here at 3,400. Buddy Hield is the other guy I'm interested in here. Moses Moody could look at, but I'm not that interested, to be honest, at his pricing. He hasn't shown much upside. Buddy Hield does have some upside if he can knock some threes in. He doesn't do a lot in other stats, but he could break out here with no Curry. More shots to go around. 4,100 is a decent pinata play. Moving on to the Hawks, this is a Saturday-Sunday back-to-back. That's another nice thing about this card. There's only two back-to-backs. One of them is the Wizards, which makes things difficult. But that's okay. Let's concentrate on the Hawks right now. It's a Saturday-Sunday back-to-back, so at least we're coming into the back-to-back here. The second half of the back-to-backs are much tougher to work out when I'm recording this early. But at the moment, we have Trae Young probable. He's always probable. He just about always plays. And LeVert has also come back in as probable here, which does limit some other guys who I did have some interest in before I saw that news. The one guy I think we can count on here is Onyeka Okongwu, 7,600. He's just demolishing this price in recent games. Have a listen to these scores: 44, 51, 26, 21, 44, 54, and 40. 7,600 is a no-brainer for me against the Warriors, where the one position that they do give up higher than average fantasy points is the center spot. No problems playing a Okongwu 7,600 here. Dyson Daniels, I've listed him here as a fade. So yes, he's been killing this price lately, much like a Okongwu has. I just want you to keep in mind that the 40 plus DK point games that he's had in, I think 3 of his last 4 are on really high field goal percentage for Dyson Daniels. And also they have been against Charlotte, Brooklyn, and Philly. So I'm just going to fade Daniels here. Zach Ricochet, more interest in him I had before. God, that sounded like Yoda. More interest in him I had before LeVert came in. He is listed at 4,600. He is a pinata play anyway. His yo-yo scoring continues to be frustrating for DFS purposes. And you can see there it's like 10, 34, 17, 28, 18, 38. Which Ricochet are we going to get? It's a GPP play for me. You can take flings at him in a few of your lineups. I wouldn't be locking him in as your first option, though. Let's move into the second game. Oh dear, it's the Wizards. So the Washington weirdness, the Washington whackness. These guys are becoming, in the last few games, the hardest DFS team to work out. They've overtaken Brooklyn. Luckily, I don't have Brooklyn on this slate as well. Let's talk Wizards. You can hear my excitement back to back here. It's a Friday, Saturday back to back, so they are playing today. At the moment, for today's first half of the back to back, we have Keyshawn George and Chris Middleton ruled in. I don't really have much interest in Chris Middleton. Keyshawn George, if he plays and gets the minutes, which is the key with the Wizards right now, is much more interesting for me. Smart out on the Friday. We can just ignore Marcus Smart pretty much anyway. And look, just a note at the top of the board there that it's the minutes. The minutes are the massive problem here. Like we had Justin Champagny go from, fantasy darling and DFS slate winner to a DNP CD just out of the blue. I didn't see it coming. I don't know why it's happening. Oh, sorry, that's crap. I do know why it's happening. Everyone knows why it's happening, but we didn't expect Champagny to just sit on the bench for an entire game. So it makes things difficult. The one guy I am interested in here with any kind of confidence is Alex Sarr. 6,700. He's been killing that price as well in most games, and he is the one who seems to have the best floor with minutes as well. It's a tough matchup versus the Knicks, don't get me wrong, but I'm struggling to find guys here that I can play with confidence, and Alex Sarr would probably be one of them. He's been having high DK points. Just keep in mind, he is playing low minutes as well, and that is always a red flag for me, red for Washington. Yeah, it's tough to really pull anyone out of this lineup with any confidence, as I keep saying. The other guy for upside, and if he plays the right amount of minutes for us, is Keyshawn George, 5,600. He still has 40 to 45 DK point upside any given night. Does he play on the second half of the back-to-back? Will they list him in, not start him, and then he sits on the bench like Champagny did? I mean, who bloody knows? It's just real hard to work out with the Wizards. I would rather they just listed guys out in a true Utah tank style, but they're not doing that. They are listing them in and then just keeping minutes low or not playing them. 4 guys down the bottom there in my pinata section. Tristan Vukovic. It's interesting that 1K adds a hard consonant there. Like we say Nikola Vucevic, and then, this one is Vucevic. Is it Vukovic or Vucevic? I've heard it said a couple of different ways. Sorry, 4,400 for for Tristan. Yeah, he's a pinata play, 20 plus minutes in his last 3. It's kind of around that higher confidence in being able to play this guy. I've dropped him into a couple of my season-long lineups on this back-to-back, hoping that those minutes stay around the same. He can score points per minute pretty quickly as well, as you can see there in his last 3. 31, 36, and 27 in fairly low 20-plus minutes. AJ Johnson, Justin Champagny. Let's just list these guys together. In fact, let's add Colby Jones to that list all at one time. AJ Johnson, 4,600. Champagny 5,100, getting the start today after a DNP CD, and then Colby Jones 3,100. So these guys are full pinatas. I basically believe that, watch the news. This is an early game. We may get the starters before the slate drops and just play the starter. It could be Champagny. It could be AJ. It could be Colby. It's my head hurts. It's too hard to work out these guys. I'm just going to run with starters wherever we get that news. For the Knicks, this is a pace bump for the New York Knicks. It's also an attack and stack spot. Washington, as I said, they could lose by 40. They could keep this close. Let's hope they keep it close, because when we attack and stack fast-paced teams and teams that give up fantasy points, that's what we want, a close game. Karl Anthony Towns at 10K. I haven't been messing with Cat lately much, but 52 and 57 versus the Wizards earlier in the season. We need the Wizards to keep it close, obviously. It puts Cat around value with some upside versus a fairly terrible Washington defense. OG Anunoby, 6,800. This is a price drop, which we love. Anunoby's in the middle of a very, very nice DFS run, 15 to 20 field goal attempts every night. Do you mind, with no Jalen Brunson? I was expecting Mitch McBride, Miles McBride, excuse me, I was looking at Mitch Robinson's name there. Miles McBride to take over the fantasy scoring here, but the usage and fantasy points have gone to OG Anunoby versus Washington. Can't talk me out of that one. 6,800 is a great price for OG. And just keep an eye on Mitch Robinson, 3,100. No back-to-back here, which means he'll probably play. He's a $3,100 bottom of the barrel pinata play. His minutes have pushed up in the last couple. He had 6 and 7 field goal attempts in the last two, which is very un-New York-like for their backup center to get any kind of usage. But that's what's been happening. He's had close to double-digit rebounds in both of those games too, 30 and 34 DK points. He is getting some good points per minute value for us. Bottom of the barrel pinata play for you there. The Bucks taking on Sacramento. This is not appearing as an attack and stack game on either team. They're the teams that we can target for giving up heaps of fantasy points. But I just like this game script. I like this one to stay close, even if it's a mid-pace game and no real attack and stack options here. I still like this game as one to target. Giannis, 12,000. This is the highest price I've seen for Giannis for a little while. The price is up. He is always going to be in play. And we have Jonas Valanciunas, we have Trey Lyles, and we have Keegan Murray at the 4. Basically trying to stop Giannis here as he attacks downhill. I think this is a great spot for Giannis, even though the price is high. Damian Lillard, 8,500. Look, this just continues to stay a great price. No, he hasn't got it done in the last few, and obviously he has burnt me. He was my thumbnail on one of those games where he scored about 25 DK points. But as I said, I like this game script. I like Lillard's price anytime it's down around this price at 8,500, and I can continue playing him in lineups when he's this price. And also he had 44 DK points versus Sacramento, so that's around value. Brook Lopez, 5,300. This is another guy I keep mentioning and keeps letting me down, but I just believe this is another good spot. Much like Giannis, he's facing the Sacramento Bigs with Jonas Valanciunas, who is a somewhat good plotting kind of defender. I watched him for many years on the Pelicans, of course. Lopez can stretch the floor and get some threes up here versus Valanciunas at 5,300. He's had low scoring lately, but I just like the play against the Sacramento Bigs. Kyle Kuzma, 5,400. One place we can attack Sacramento in recent games is the 3-point line, and I'm not sure Kuzma does much else these days other than shoot threes. So 5,400 is a pinata play for Kyle Kuzma. On the other side of the ball, I like a couple of guys here very much. DeRozan, I think, is appropriately priced. Zach LaVine hasn't been getting it done. Malik Monk's the guy. I love to play Malik Monk when he's on fire. 8,100 here is no problem for me versus the Milwaukee Bucks at point guard, who are currently top of the list for fantasy points given up at that position. So Malik Monk is probably my favorite player of the day today, honestly, even with some big names in here. Perfect spot. Field goal attempts way up in the teens and over 20 in a couple of games as well. So that's what we love to see. And also just happened to have caught a few Sacramento games lately, and the Malik Monk of old is just not there. He's not just hanging around outside three, launching bombs. He is driving, pushing to the basket. Love this play, Malik Monk, 8,100. The other guy I'm really interested in here is Trey Lyles. J-Val has been an easy drop-in play, but what we're seeing with the Kings, and this may change with the Bucks, but what we're seeing with the Kings lately is a definite push towards small ball basketball, and Trey Lyles is getting many more minutes, pushing into the 20s and into the 30s in the last two. 3,600, that's too cheap for a guy playing 30-plus minutes. It may change here versus the Milwaukee Bigs. There's two ways to look at it. Do the Kings need to play a big body like Valanciunas against these big bodies in Milwaukee? Maybe. Do the Kings just want to go small and attack them with speed? With or faster. Trey Lyles isn't the fastest guy ever, but he's still going to beat Lopez off the dribble. So two ways to look at it. I like the price of Lyles for 3,600 for sure. Chicago taking on the Lakers in the last game of the day. Pace bump here for the Lakers, as we mentioned at the top of the show. No back-to-backs here. Chicago with Giddey ruled probable. We already have Lonzo Ball, of course, ruled out. And now Trey Jones. I've listed him as out here. The Bulls have not listed him officially as out at the time of recording, but they're saying a midfoot sprain, and that could be weeks. So I'm going to list him out here and work around that. I'll be very, very surprised if Trey Jones starts as point guard here. Having said that, I believe that Josh Giddey, if he plays, he is probable at 8,600, is still undervalued at 8,600. Just been killing that price. I don't have any issues with Giddey here playing against the Lakers. The guy has 45 to 55 DK point upside. Any given night he steps on the floor as long as his minutes are up. And we have no Trey Jones now. Speaking of no Trey Jones, the two guys are down the bottom here for the Bulls. Kobe White, 8K. I actually like this more than his position on this ladder suggests. 8K with 18 to 28 field goal attempts in his last 10 games. One spot you can attack the Lakers is the shooting guard position. Kobe White is a really nice play here if you'd like to move off some of the bigger names. 8K for Kobe White. And the other guy who's been punching above his weight lately is Kevin Huerter, 5,600. We now know there's no We know there's no Lonzo. We believe there's going to be no Trey Jones. That just opens up a whole lot more ball handling and usage for Kevin Huerter. I like it. He is a yo-yo scorer, but 5,600 you can definitely take a stab at. And the big guy for the Chicago Bulls, Nikola Vucevic, they're both in the same slate. They're Vucevic, 7,300 for Nikola Vucevic at the moment is just too cheap. He is back rolling at the moment. We're only facing Jackson Hayes here. I expect a really nice game here for Nikola Vucevic. Moving on to the Lakers, as I said, pace bump game. At the time of recording, Doncic, Dorian Finney-Smith, Austin Reeves, and Jared Vanderbilt, all listed probable. LeBron, the man, the GOAT, not my GOAT, but maybe your GOAT. LeBron has popped up as questionable, so that's going to change a lot of things, and you'll see down the list here that almost all of my picks here revolve around whether LeBron plays or not. Rui Hachimura also questionable for this game. So let's start at the top. Luka Doncic, 12.6, the highest price guy on the board. Yes, he is. He is always going to be in play. I really only like this if LeBron sits. Yeah, it's against Chicago. It's a pace-up game. But, of course, if LeBron is in, I would expect him to play full minutes. If LeBron comes in, he's healthy. I don't believe the Lakers would risk him if he was only going to play lower minutes or if he was any kind of injury concern. So therefore, if LeBron is in, Luka is going to drop off my board here. If LeBron can't go, then Doncic at 12.6 is always in play, and this is a great matchup for him. Austin Reeves, same thing, 9,100. I won't go too long on this. It's the same call. He's been beating this recently very easily, but there's been no LBJ. If LeBron comes in, cross Austin Reeves off my board as well. If LeBron doesn't play, then you can continue to play Austin Reeves at that price. LeBron James himself, yeah, he's listed down the bottom here, but that's mostly because he's questionable. At 10.5, if he plays, this is a full go-ahead for me. I just ran out of room with some extra guys on the Bulls here and also extra names to talk about with the Lakers. LeBron James, if he plays, deserves the the bigger font at 10.5. I think he's an excellent play here if he can go. Jordan Goodwin, cross him out if LeBron plays at 5,100. The minutes are there. He is a yo-yo scorer. You can take stabs if LeBron can't play. And Jackson Hayes at 5K. This is a great spot versus Chicago. I've been attacking Chicago center spots all year. I'm not a big fan of Jackson Hayes as a fantasy guy or a DFS guy, but you can't ignore the position of center versus Chicago. That's the 4 games for us, guys. Favorite plays for the day. Brandon Pajemski versus Atlanta with no Steph. Onyeka Okongwu versus Golden State Warriors. He's got a nice solid floor at the moment. I like Cat and Anunoby as the higher price guys versus Washington, and I like Mitch Robinson as the bottom of the barrel pinata play versus Washington. Alex Sarr is the only guy I can trust on the Washington team versus New York, and the question mark there is basically a matchup. It's a tough matchup, but Sarr is the only guy I can really trust, so he's the only Washington Wizard who gets a listing. my goodness. Giannis Antetokounmpo, as some sports reporter said it here in Australia a couple of years ago. Giannis versus Sacramento Kings. I love that spot for him. Malik Monk back the other way is going to be my favorite play of the day here versus the Bucks. It's Josh Giddey and Vucevic versus the Lakers. It's Luka and why have I got Pajemski there? It's not Pajemski. It is Reeves. Apologies. Luka and Austin Reeves versus Chicago if LeBron doesn't go, and LeBron versus Chicago if he does play. That's a lot of info to get through, right? But that's what Snack Size DFS is all about. We're here to do it quickly. We're here to do it in as fast time as possible with as much info as I can give you a full day ahead of the games to come. So we get you pumped, we get you primed, we get you lubricated for your coming DraftKings NBA DFS slate. That's it for me today. Please like and subscribe the Old Man Squad Network on the socials and on YouTube. And Daniel Besbris.
And there you have it. Winners lined up for you in easy to digest snack edible fashion. Hit that subscribe button. If you made it to this part of the show, you certainly have to. Plus, by subscribing to Old Man Squad, you get all of our DFS shows, all of our full season shows, all of our streaming shows, all of our baseball shows, all of our awesome stuff that's to come that I still can't quite announce to you guys shows yet here on our YouTube channel and on iTunes and Spotify as well. Stay tuned for some of the new things that will be likely having their own RSS feeds. I am Dan Besbris on behalf of Old Man Squad. Thanks as always to Brenton Eckersley, Terrain72 over on social media. This was Snack Size DFS on the Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball Network, and we'll be back with you in the not too distant future with the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you around.